Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 2 for playoffs. My guest at this time is Skuba of NRG, this time coming off of their match against G2 Esports, in which they came out on the losing end, losing 2-1, but still having another chance after going down to the lower bracket. And so, Scuba, thank you so much once again for another interview. Really do appreciate it. And obviously, starting off with the result right then and there, of what just happened, losing G2, what's going through your mind first and foremost?
Um, Honestly, right now I feel like we should have won that sunset map. It's, yeah, man, it's eating away at me to be honest. Talking in the room like, man, we should have had sunset. There were so many rounds that we felt like we threw away. And then for bind, honestly, just came out looking really flat and just didn't really play our game. So it's what it comes down to. If you're not here playing it like your game on the day, you're just gonna lose.
I mean, you couldn't really say any better than what you just said right there. I mean, since you said it there in your answer about sunset, going back onto that aspect, if for a moment NRG had that lead in the beginning of the second half, I believe. I think G2 won the pistol and the eco or anti eco, and then still there was a little bit back and forth there. What do you think set the difference in that map, and how much did it play into the team's mental going in from map 2 to map 3?
So yeah, on sunset, honestly, it's feeling good. We feel like we played our sunset pretty well. We lost a couple eco rounds, which really put us in a bad spot. I believe maybe run around they had chamber op, neon ult, and they won that eco round, and it kind of messed with our economy a lot. So besides that, though, we were just towards the end of the game, we just couldn't really figure out how to get past their double op, having the sage in the chamber. So that was kind of difficult, but I don't feel like our mentals were too hurt after losing that game. We were like, "Come on, guys! Like this is bind. We're good at this map," and it just our attack side just didn't really go how we wanted it to, and it's hard to come back from a 2-10 deficit. So yeah.
Before going into Bind, I want to ask you about, as you said, the G2 comp, and with their inclusion of the Sage. So second time we've seen them use that composition in this map specifically. Um, Going into the nuances that as much as you can, of course, what do you think was the most difficult aspect that G2's comp showed that made it difficult for you guys to bring in the rounds on the attacking side in that second half on Sunset?
Yeah, honestly, the chamber was just a big thing for us. Like we just kept getting picked by the op, and going into every round 5v4, and it's just hard because they have Sage as well for the retake. Just wall off one sided or wall off the bomb, and it's really tough. So I would say just mainly the chamber was the hardest thing that we found within the comp.
Mhm. And with that said, now going into buying, you already mentioned a little bit about what happened there, but what do you think was the most difficult or hardest thing that you guys had to kind of face in that map as a whole? Because as you said, 210 down, obviously quite a deep hole to get out of. So what stood out to you in that aspect?
What stood out to me, I would say just when we our game plan was kind of just to abuse A lot. Um, and when we were doing our A hits, we were just honestly messing up these little small things that we usually don't mess up, and they were just taking control of the game completely, and we just were kind of like reacting to what they were doing, and we weren't really, making the game ours.
Similar question that I asked you some time ago about the composition. This time we saw like the deadlock and the fade into this comp, and also gotta mention that it's been like almost like half a year since we've last seen G2 compete in Bind. So, same question: what was the most difficult part of just having to face G2 in that composition in mind, and also did it kind of surprise you that they went for that route? And yeah.
Uh, we honestly going into the game, we had no idea what they were gonna play on Bind. Obviously, it's not a map they play as of recently, so we didn't really have any ante or like any idea what they would do. The deadlock was definitely a surprise for us and the Teo, but honestly, I don't think our loss to them on Bind had anything to do with what they did. It was more what we messed up and we didn't do. So I would say I wasn't too focused on what they were doing really.
And obviously, like there was plenty of like energy flowing within the stage. Obviously there was plenty of trash talk between your team and their team, and as G2 were beginning to take the momentum in the later stages of the series, they kind of stood up more than you guys, for obvious reasons. What was it like to just to try to like banter, also try to like get into their heads, on that standpoint? How did you view that verbal fighting, if that's the right way to say it?
It's all fun and games, man. Baby Bay, he was our podcaster, like podcast host on NRG. So I met him first time like a couple months ago. So anything that's said is just banter. It's just fun. Honestly, for me, I really didn't even notice them standing up. Like that's how much I was focused on the game. I think only one time I looked over and Baby Bay was pointing at me, and I was like, "What? What are you doing?" But that was really it, to be honest.
Yeah, like that's also an interesting thing to look at when it comes to looking at these two teams in this matchup. I mean, going into the Baby Bay aspect, what was that like? What was it like just to go from like having to like be a part of like that podcast and now having to face them in today on the stage? Was it like a surprising thing, or like something like totally like, oh wow, this is actually happening? I didn't think we would get to this point, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a good player. He's played this game a long time. I've played a bunch of tier two, and I played against him back in the day when he was on phase. So he's a good operator player, and they're taking full advantage of that. And he's slotting in pretty well. Obviously, since Leaf is having health issues. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he's playing well, but it was fun to play against him, I would say.
Is there similarities between how he played back then and now?
Yeah, honestly, he's kind of the same. He's just an operator player, right? He just does whatever he wants with his op, and it works for him.
No, for sure. I mean, going a little bit into Crow, obviously that was where you guys took home the victory on that aspect, and it speaks to where you guys are at on that map, and just goes to show, like, for a point, you guys were on the driver's seat and could have like ended it earlier on in the series compared to what we saw in reality. What gave you guys the edge in that first map on Crowd, and also on the top of that, what makes you guys such a strong Crowd team in recent times?
Uh, I would say like for Corrode for us, just how we played today, we were in the driver's seat, like you said. We were just controlling the game, and they were reacting to how we were playing. Um, we'd like to say on our team like we were dictating the game, and when we play like that, we're unstoppable. And so as the game went on, we kind of did less and less of that, and you see that throughout with the performance and the score. So that's all I have to say.
Nevertheless, you guys have another chance to redeem yourselves in this playoff phase of the competition in the lower bracket. I believe you guys will be waiting for the winner of the Latin American Classico between True Esports and Leviathan. And so, as you guys now go down to the lower bracket, what do you feel the team kind of has to do, most importantly, to ensure that you guys can make that deep lower bracket run? Because in essence, this is basically what you have to do in order to qualify for champions.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Excuse me. It's gonna be a good time. Just every day, we know that if we play how we do in practice, we are one of the best teams in Americas, and it's just about bringing that to the stage, wherever it may be, your routine before the game, caffeine, anything like that, external factors, just to make sure you're playing exactly how you do in practice. And I truly believe we can make champs.
Oh, for sure. Definitely good to see the confidence and the good mental despite what happened on the stage today. And obviously, it's the first time I get to talk to you since the beginning of stage two, I believe. And obviously, this team has been able to redeem themselves to in their form from the regular season, finishing as the first seed in your respective group. And so obviously plenty of improvements there. What I want to ask you now, Scuba, is kind of an update from, that initial conversation. How have you viewed the team's overall progression from stage two, having to go through the usual initial struggles to now, firing on all cylinders, heading into playoffs? And sure, you guys lost today, but kind of, I want to ask you nonetheless.
Yeah. So I would say like the evolution of our team so far. We had a really good run in the Esports World Cup. Everything was working great. We were kind of like honeymooning, I guess you could say. Everything's going right. We have really no issues. We went to EWC. We played. We had two good games, and then we played against Gen G. And our loss against Gen G kind of like exposed a lot of the problems in our gameplay and problems we have as a team. And we tried to really overcorrect against. Once we lost to Gen G, we tried to overcorrect, and so we came back home. First game of the season was against 100 Thieves. A lot of these things we talked about didn't really work. We didn't really feel like we were playing our game. And then we had a talk. We're like, look, whatever happened at EWC, put it behind us. Let's just play how we know we can play, and let's just do that and just improve every week. And so next 4 weeks, we won every game, slowly improving. Ended up first seed, and we came out here today against G2. We showed a good performance on Corrode. We felt like we should have had Sunset maybe, but it didn't go our way. Little small mistakes that we can look to fix, and then yeah, that's just the road we have now. We're in lower bracket. We just need to keep improving and just play how we play.
We've been seeing a lot of like double initiator comps from this team in stage two, in which it's a different kind of flavor compared to other teams which might be using like, let's say, double duelist, double sentee, all that stuff in this type of meta. What gives you guys the comfort to go for that direction as opposed to going to like another direction, like double agents for a different role, specifically?
Uh, I would say that our team is very flexible. Sam could play Sentinel or controller, duelist, whatever he wants to play. Adam is one of the best duelist players, and so with Brock and Ethan being like some of the best KO Sova players, it's hard not to put them on these roles that they're so good at. And then me, I'll just play honestly whatever. So that's really just how it's been going so far. Just put people on comfort roles, also like what we think is the best on the map, and so a little in between of that, we think is the best mix.
And with that said, now going back into the playoff stage two playoffs. As I said, going down to the lower bracket, you got a long road ahead of you. Do you feel intimidated or more so pressured by the aspect of just having to be obligated to pull off this deep playoff run, or not really as such?
Um, I don't really feel any extra pressure. Losing to G2 is never a shameful thing, right? Even though they don't have their full roster, obviously, like they're a good team. They have good fundamentals, and it's always going to be a hard game. So I'm not stressing out because of one loss. But yeah, I mean, we just have to win. I think 2 games in a row, maybe 3, to make it the champ. So just take it every day, game by game, and let's see where we end up.
Let's see, indeed, and hopefully it's at that desired goal. And so, Scuba, can't thank you enough for the interview once again. Really do appreciate it. And of course, commiserations on the loss, but hopefully, of course, also can bounce back in the next one. So, thank you very much.